I know now that there is such a thing as a living evil, a force of darkness that lives not in the space that we know, but between them, in the dark, in the shadows. And those awakened by the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon. How do you deal with them? How do you stop them? The book tells us the only way is total bodily dismemberment. So, what do you use? This is Ash's personal weapon of choice. In the first Evil Dead, he used a Homelight XL12. And that's what this is. You can't even get these in England. They just don't exist. And people in America, in the Evil Dead community, go far and wide to find these originals. Brett from Brett's Groovy Chainsaws films all his videos in his garage, so I decided to do the same thing. I filmed this video in a garage in homage to his work on his YouTube channel. So he mostly talks about the Super 2 from Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. This is the original XL12 from the first Evil Dead film. It's actually made of metal. It's actually a metal body. That switch works. That. It's got all the gubbins and greeblies on it. Everything still works. Pull cord is jammed, so I'll have to deal with that. What I'm going to do is clean it up. All this grime, it looks like it's from an Evil Dead film to begin with. It is about 40 something years old, and it really is grimy and dirty and gross, and my hands are filthy already. I'm going to clean it up and then weather it afterwards. But it looks like it's from an Evil Dead film to begin with. It's in really good condition. It's like, it looks like it belongs in the film. It's got its original bar. It's got the Homelight logo on it. That logo is intact. Sticker on the top is peeling away, but I'm going to re-glue that down. I will glue that back in place when it's finished. I dismantled the hand guard already. I've taken that off and started to clean that up. For years and years I thought this was the petrol tank, and I thought this was where the fuel goes. That's what I thought that was, but no, after all those years, it turns out that's not the petrol tank, even though I thought it was. This is the fuel tank, this is the oil. And I saw some videos on YouTube on how to maintain it and take it apart, so that's what I'm going to do. Right, so I'm going to start to remove that tape in a minute. I'll take that tape off because it's not needed. Start to clean it up. The Homelight logo on there is gone. Somebody once said, nobody cares about what does not cut. Who said that? Oh yeah, Brett said that. On Brett's Groovy Chainsaws. So actually decided to measure the blade bar. It's a 20-inch blade. It's a 20-inch bar. Didn't think of measuring that before. I used a paintbrush to dab on white spirit. Just brushed on white spirit with a paintbrush, and then wiped it down with an old t-shirt, and that has got rid of most of that crap that was on there. It's much more cleaner than it was before. And I uncovered this sticker here. I didn't know that was there. It's like warnings. I didn't even see that before. It's so covered in crap, so covered in grime. I never even saw that. Saw. But it's looking cleaner now anyway. I can't believe how clean that is when I got that tape off. That's the cleanest part of the whole saw. It's shiny. There's the cleanest part there, because it was all wrapped in that tape. That part's grimy, that will come off. With a lot of scrubbing with a scouring pad, that will get clean in no time. I'll probably paint that black, and then weather it, and then scrape away the paint, and got to deal with this. That one goes 3 inches, so I'm going to dismantle that, figure out what's going on there. When it's finished, I'm going to take that off. I'm just going to cut off a 4-inch piece of doweling from an old broom and make a wooden pull cord so it keeps it in context with Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. I've got to undo those 2 nuts there, to remove that cowling, to get inside the sprockets and the gubbins and the greeblies and remove the blade. I've got to take that off as well. Right, so that's off. I sprayed it with WD-40 and those nuts came off pretty easy. So that's that thing there. That's the oil cap off. And power crystal goes in there. That's where the Adigan crystal goes. And the Kyber crystal goes in there. No, wait, hang on. This isn't a lightsaber. I forgot that. I'm so used to working with lightsabers, I forgot this isn't a lightsaber. This is something else entirely. That will be cleaned up, no problem. There's the blade. It's one of them kinds of blades. If anyone says, oh, what make is that? You know, people in the fan community, they know all their gubbins and greeblies and odds and ends, and they'll say, what make is that? And I'll say, it's a metal one, probably from America somewhere. And that is a chain, and that's a thing. It's another piece of metal, that's what I'll say to them. That comes off. Forgot about that one, so that's the other half of that. So that will be cleaned up now. Spider there. That wasn't there before, he's probably come out to watch me work, because he wasn't there a few minutes ago. Didn't even notice that guy. And when I was removing the blade, just nicked the edge of my thumb on one of the blades. Just as I was taking it off and I didn't know about that. Cleaning up the blade bar. So I'm cleaning that right now. Right, so next on the agenda is to take off this cowling, which has the ripcord starter motor inside of that. And I watched some videos on how to do that. So hopefully I won't mess that up. Oh yeah, I've cleaned up the side handle as well. It was absolutely filthy and grimy. So what I did was, got some sandpaper, put some white spirit on the sandpaper, and then gave it a rub down. And it got rid of all that crap from that tape that's stuck on the side. So that's now much more cleaner and shinier. So that works. You have to give that a try. White spirit on sandpaper to clean up really old metal work. Right, I used a 5/8 spanner to remove the blade bar. So I've got to get myself one of these so I can put it back together. Right, so I've taken that black cover off and exposed the units here. Apparently that's the carburetor in there. That's the choke. Yeah, so that's the choke there. That still works. And that screw there is for that's the accelerator. That cleaned up all around that. Once I removed that cover, I exposed all that area there. So I was able to clean that up quite considerably. Right, so I've taken apart the muffler on the side, undone those 3 screws, taken that off. I've taken that off, cleaned up inside. It's a cheese grater. I make a really good cheese grater on the inside. That was covered in oil. I had to clean that up. What I've done so far is removed this part that went there. That's the grippy thing that used for pivoting the saw. That came off pretty easy. Yeah, that was an easy part. The hard part I'm having trouble with is the panel on the left hand. Yeah, I'm having trouble with the panel. These screws that hold this casing with the ripcord and the starter motor that ain't moving. Yeah, these screws are pretty tight. I've sprayed them with WD-40 and they're not even moving. There's only 4 screws to do. Once I've taken that cowling off, I can get to the inside of the engine on the inside and start removing the innards and start gutting out the actual engine part. Until those screws come off, I can't do anything, so I'm going to keep on spraying them with WD-40. Keep on trying at it, but they're not moving. I've cleaned out inside here quite thoroughly. I dipped a paintbrush in white spirit and just went to town on it and then sprayed it with WD-40 and then used a paintbrush to get in there in all the corners to get out all the crap that was in there. Managed to clear that out. On the inside as well. Taking the blade off was the easy part. Now I'm just cleaning out all the inside there. It was all full of gook and stuff. It's all kind of just so much junk inside there, just jammed up. This flywheel thing, that wasn't even moving. It was so gunked up with stuff and junk. The flywheel wasn't even spinning around like that. So that's only since they've cleared it out that that's actually got moving. I had to clear out inside the muffler. That was all full of oil. That was all horrible in there. So it's slowly getting cleaned and dismantled and sorted out. And that's part of that, I think. There's all these nooks and crannies in there that could be cleaned up, needs a bit more thorough cleaning. What's in there? Don't want to know what's in there. What about this one? What's in there? No idea what's going on in there. Can't see a thing. So it's slowly getting cleaned and dismantled, but I can't get to the inside of the engine parts until that panel is removed. And I'll be able to get inside the engine block and remove all the parts I don't need and start gutting it and making it more lightweight, because this is actually a metal body. If it was a plastic body, it would be so much lighter when it's done. Because it's an original one with a metal body, it makes it much more heavier, much more harder to work with. Right, there were still loads of dregs of oil in there. I undid that cap. I undid that and opened that up. There's like a reservoir for the oil. There's a little pump inside. This little thing here, I don't know what it is, like a reservoir pump, and that goes in there like that. and it pumps oil out of the reservoir and back into the main tank. There were still dregs of oil in there, so every time I was pushing the pump button, oil was spurting out of the hole there. So I had to empty that out and deal with that. I poured in some white spirit and swished it about, and then I got a paintbrush, I just wrapped it in tissue and just dumped it into the holes all the way down there. So I just wrapped it in tissue and did that and just cleared out the dregs of oil that was still left inside. So with some white spirit poured down into there and leaving it for a few minutes, that helped clear that out. I also found a wire brush which helped me get into the odds and ends, all these tiny little holes and gaps here. They need to be cleaned out, so I sprayed that with white spirit, sort of scrubbing it into the holes wherever I can to help clear out all the crap that's in all the crevices and all these details here. So I'm cleaning it up even more now, so it's actually looking pretty clean now. It's much more clear than it was before. So I was just going around with that wire brush all over it, getting all those gubbins and greeblies and details, try and get it as clean as I can. I'm just glad to think about these buttons still work, because it gives it functionality. That still works. And the switch, the all important switch. It's essential that that works, so that if you're filming something you can show your actors actually flipping switches and doing things, just like Ash does in Evil Dead. We showed him flipping the switch. So details like that are important to have working parts and components. You just don't get that with these 3D printed ones, don't have working parts like that. I never really got into the 3D printing props. I've been building my own props for a long time, but never did any 3D printing or anything like that. Serial number. What I'm going to do with the ripcord is replace it with a wooden one. I'll simply cut out a 4-inch piece of doweling from an existing broom handle and then weather that, drill a hole through it and add it instead of this one. So I'm replacing it so it's more like the one from Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, so it keeps it in context. Right, managed to get that panel off. That panel is now off. Now we can get to the inside of the engine. That's the starter motor. That's all the inside gubbins in there. Now that's off, I can get cracking with taking apart the insides. That can be now cleaned up. We'll start cleaning up inside around there and taking all that stuff apart there. Right, the muffler's off. That's all been cleaned out with an old paintbrush. That's been cleaned out quite a lot. And the muffler's the back end of it. That's clean. So that's done. So now I can get inside the engine in there. That grille is officially off. If anyone says that it's not off, then there's the proof right there. It's off. It's no longer on there. It's there. It's off. Right, so I've got that bit off. That went there. That was attached to there. So I've undone those screws, taken that out, cleaned that up. That was the other end of this spark plug wire that goes into there. So that's the other end of that spark plug. So that goes through. So I need to keep that bit. I'm going to discard that bit because that goes on the inside. It's not needed anymore. But keep that wire in that plug for that. In order to become like Ash, I had to think like Ash. I couldn't get the nuts and bolts off going through the central core of that. So I got slots. I grip that one in the vice there, and then I was able to undo that one with the spanner. That worked. I can't believe that worked. It wasn't working before. It worked. I did it. I figured it out. Right, so by gripping that in the vice, I was able to actually undo the spindle, and that comes off. I was actually able to undo it from that side and turn that by hand and undid the nut that was gripped in the vice. So that worked out okay. I assumed that this spindle here goes all the way through to this one here. I assumed it goes all the way through, and I thought that was going to come off, and it didn't. That one there holds the sprocket and the cog for the chain at the back end of the blade. This is actually attached to the piston of the motor, so I was hoping that would come out, and it doesn't. I've tried prizing it off with screwdrivers, and I think there's something else inside holding it in place, halting my progress on that piece. I can't undo all the bodywork, all the screws holding the main body pieces together. Not all of them are accessible. Not all of them are accessible, and I can't get to all of them to take apart all of the bodywork, and they're stuck. Can't get to those ones in there. Those ones are stuck. So they don't undo, and that holds all the main body work together, but I can't get to all of them, and they're not budging. They're not going anywhere.